congratulations for making it all the way to Dune Club Session 11. For this session, you should have read pages 651 through 709, which ends on the sentence, "We will see now whether I'm the Kwisatz Haderach who can survive the test that the Reverend Mothers have survived." Now for the recap. Previously in Dune, Paul and Jessica have successfully allied themselves with the Fremen people, becoming the guerrilla house that the late Leto predicted. In the 2 years since the Harkonnen coup, Paul has risen as a leader among the Fremen, who see him as the Messiah who has been prophesied to deliver them and their planet from political bondage. But before he can truly lead, Paul must survive the Fremen rite of passage, where he must call, hook, and ride a wild maker. Young Paul has also found true love with Chani and has fathered a child on her, Leto II. And while his mother is delighted at the addition of a new Atreides, Jessica is worried Paul will ruin his chances of imperial succession through political marriage if he decides to take Chani for his lawful wife. Speaking of new Atreides, Alia, Paul's sister, has also been born and is having a hard time fitting in due to the strangeness she has acquired by coming out of the womb a totally aware adult with all the knowledge of a reverend mother. In Session 11, the problem of what to do about Fremen leadership secession through combat comes to a head when Paul successfully rides the worm and senses the Fremen expect him to call Stillgar out and take control of the tribes. But before dealing with this, he leads the Fremen on a raid to take care of a band of smugglers who are trespassing in the southern reaches, and finds his old teacher and dear friend Gurney Halleck. The two embrace one another, and Gurney repledges his fealty to House Atreides. Back to the problem of Stillgar, with Jessica's help, Paul addresses a large gathering of Fremen, successfully convincing them to forget the rules, while also officially taking on the mantle of the Lisan al-Gaib and Duke of House Atreides. Afterwards, Paul's surprise for his mother goes wrong when Gurney Halleck attacks Jessica, believing her to be the traitor who delivered House Atreides to the Harkonnens. Gurney relents when he learns the truth of Dr. Yui's betrayal, and after Paul leaves him and Jessica to rekindle their friendship, Muad'Dib decides, fuck it, it's time, I'm gonna take that water of life. In our first chapter, Paul mounts the Wild Maker, otherwise known as the Old Man of the Desert, becoming a sand rider and official Fremen, with Stillgar, Chani, and the rest of their band hopping on board. When Still gets to the top, he immediately slaps Paul's pride down with his critique, telling Usul how he messed up and how he could have done it better, keeping Paul humble. And to Stillgar, this might be the last time he'll be able to strengthen Paul with his knowledge, because he believes he isn't going to be around for much longer. Everyone is gearing up for Paul to call Stillgar out for leadership of the tribes, and it's like, what an amazing human being Stillgar is to know that this boy is one day going to kill him, and yet he does everything in his power to make Paul the best man he can, and he continues to be chill towards Muad'Dib even when he thinks that his time has finally come. Anyway, on their way south, they see a smuggler's ornithopter and immediately jump off the worm, hide in the sand, and since they don't want anyone to know about their activities in the southern region, Paul decides to lay a trap for the smugglers with a fake patch of spice sand to teach these assholes a hard lesson about trespassing in Fremen territory. So this particular pack of spice smugglers is being led by Gurney Halleck, and this is the first time we've seen him since he joined up. And while on this mission, he is thinking to himself about how devilishly cunning the Fremen are. And surprise, out of nowhere, the Fremen pop up, taking down his thopters and carryall with old school missiles. There's a Fremen with a knife right in front of him, and before he can defend himself, his attacker reveals himself to be none other than Paul Atreides, and Gurney cannot even. He immediately submits to Paul, and the two men embrace, with Gurney exclaiming, "You young pup!" and Paul exclaiming, Gurney man! Gurney man!" It's like so adorable. Anyways, they start talking. Gurney warns Paul that there are some plants in his smugglers group with their secret Atreides hand signals. And Paul is like, all right, I got you. And then Paul comes around to asking Gurney if he will join him in his mission of kicking Harkonnen and Imperial ass. And Gurney is like WTF? Like, do you even know me, bro? Do you even know me? Duh. Yes. I never even, like, if I knew you were here, it's like I never left your service. Then Stillgar comes up with Gurney's balisette that they saved from the crawler. And Still is being kind of bitchy towards Gurney. And Gurney is like, this dude is jelly because me and Paul go way back. And of course, Paul sees all of this and is like, look, like, I need you two guys to be friends, all right? Like, can you guys chill out for just a second? But the thing is, Stillgar is jealous because here's this guy who's totally going to take Stillgar's place at Paul's side after Paul has to ceremonially kill Stillgar for leadership of the Fremen. So I can see why he'd be bummed. But Paul is like, makes them shake hands. He's like, you guys touch hands. You guys need to chill. So the three men are inside one of the hidden ecological bases on their way to a conference room or something when fighting breaks out amongst the captured smugglers and the Fremen. And wouldn't you know it, some sardaukar spies are totally trying to fight their way out. One of them throws a knife at Paul, who ducks, and Gurney picks up the blade, and guess what? It's totally a sardaukar knife with, like, the Imperial lion on it, and Paul calls them out. He's like, you guys are sardaukar, and he ends up having them taken away, and when the sardaukar are gone, Paul contrives a plan to not kill these spies, because Paul wants these men to tip off the guild when they get back to their emperor that Paul Atreides lives and has the might of the Fremen people behind him. Because Paul knows that the guild is going to stand with whoever can supply them with spice because their entire monopoly is dependent upon it, and the guild isn't stupid. And they have already secretly been in business with the Fremen, keeping the native people's desert planet skies free of satellites in return for that precious spice. After the sardaukar incident, Paul confronts Stillgar about their leadership issue. He hands him that Imperial sardaukar knife and asks him, dude, could you really try and kill me in combat for leadership of the tribe? I know you can't. Like, I know you can't because you live for the greater good, and besting me is obviously not in the Fremen's best interests because you know I'm going to get y'all's freedom. Things change, and do you really think that I want to kill you? You are the illest, and I need your badassery by my side because we're getting ready to take the fuck over. And when I become emperor, I'm gonna have time to be leading the tribes on your level. To which Stillgar looks at the ground and, like, kicks some sand and is like, yeah, like, you're right. You know I love you. I can't fight you. You're my bro. And Paul is like, I know I'm right. So he's like, Chani, I need you to go get my mom because me and her and Still here got to put our heads together and find a way to get the rest of our people on board. Meanwhile, Gurney is secretly like, oh shit, that evil bitch who betrayed us lives? I'm gonna kill her, but before I kill her, I gotta get her to confess in front of Paul. So Jessica comes up from Siege. She helps the boys come up with a game plan. And Paul goes to address a crowd of Fremen who are 100% expecting him to publicly call Stillgar out. They start heckling him about it. And Paul Muad'Dib claps back to his haters with some real talk. He says to them, I know you think it's time that I called Stillgar out and changed the leadership of the tribes. But do you think the Lisan al-Gaib is that stupid? And, like, they immediately shut the fuck up because their man finally, for the first time, publicly straight up took the mantle of their messiah, which he has never done before. And Jessica is off to the side like, I don't, this is a good idea. He shouldn't take on that shit. Like, it's like freaking her out. But it's like Paul's like balls out. He's going for it. He then shames them and tells them, we all know that I could kill every one of your stupid asses, Stillgar included. Oh, and guess what? I intercepted this message saying Raban is now cut off. And then Paul takes the Atreides' ducal signet ring of his father and his father's father, puts it on, saying, I swore never to wear this until I am ready to lead y'all and take back our land, and the last thing we need is to ceremonially kill off our boy Stillgar when we need all hands on deck to kill Harkonnens. The Fremen people go nuts. They're screaming. They're saying, long live Duke Paul Muad'Dib, long live the fighters. And right then and there, Paul swears Stillgar in as a vassal of House Atreides, sealing the deal. He did it. So after Paul handles his people, he takes his mom into a back room to surprise her with Gurney Halleck, even though she already knows what's up because she's a Reverend Mother, and it's real hard to surprise a Reverend Mother. But even though she knows what's up, she's still freaking out because she hasn't seen Gurney since the fall, and like thinking about him is bringing up all of these memories of her beautiful past life with Leto, their lost love, which makes her start thinking about Paul's love for Chani and how he really can't marry her because Paul's only chance for success lies in a political marriage with another great house. Maybe one of them Carino Bene Gesserit princesses. And her thoughts are interrupted by a cough outside the hangings, and she's like, enter. And bam, Gurney bursts from behind the curtains, takes Jessica hostage, and she's like, WTF. And then Paul walks in and is like, WTF. And Gurney is like, this bitch betrayed us, and I swore to kill the person who got my best friend in the whole universe killed. And Paul is like, dude, it was Yui. Like, Halleck is not hearing it. Paul goes on to say, like, look, I've got proof, but like, you haven't heard how this woman has cried in the night over her lost Duke. Like, my dad never mistrusted her, and he told me that at the end. And the love that my parents shared was so real that I felt left out. And you were there. You know that shit was real deep down. And Gurney relents. He lets Jessica go. And Jessica is so overcome with emotion that she goes to her son and says, I'm so sorry that I've used you to get revenge for the man, the only man that I ever loved. Like, screw all of my bullshit. If you want to marry Chani, I am not going to get in your way. Like, choose happiness. And then Gurney, being a total drama queen, interrupts the scene by like baring his breast and asking Paul and Jessica to just stab him in the heart because he feels so sorry. And Paul is like, holy shit, like, what is wrong with all of my boys wanting me to kill them? You know, it's just like, stop being crazy, dude. Like, nobody's stabbing you in the heart. And Jessica is like, for real, Gurney. Like, it's chill. It's totally chill. But if you want to make it up to me, go grab that ballast set and play me some of our old jams. Which he does. And as Paul leads his mother, who is just like in a daze right now, to a comfortable cushion to sit down, listen to some music, he's struck by how old she seems to him all of a sudden. She sees like how hard Jessica has been working with like very little respite, how drained she is, and he feels like he needs to find a way to ease her burdens. And it's not stated outright, but it hits him. Jessica needs some new love in her life. I mean, nothing perks a lady up more than like some new love. And he makes up an excuse to leave Gurney and Jessica alone together. And just as his mother has finally just blessed his love with Chani, in this way, he also blesses her to be with her dead lover's best friend. So now, all the tribal leaders are arriving for the big war council, and Muad'Dib realizes that in no vision has he ever seen Gurney attacking his mother? That he has in fact grown a tolerance to the spice. Like he has a spice tolerance. And he can no longer go on. Like if he's serious about this shit, he cannot have this imperfect vision. So it's time to kick it up a notch and take some real drugs. The motherfucking water of life, to see if he is the Kwisatz Haderach for real. For real. For super real.
Why would this decide he's real?
Well, because if you remember in the very, very beginning, when Gais Hel Mohim came to him and tested him with the Gom Jabbar, she was saying to him, oh, well, in order to be a Kwisatz Haderach, we're looking for a male Reverend Mother who can take, who can do the thing. And he's like, oh, many have tried? And she said, yeah. He's like, tried and failed? She's like, tried and died, And so he's like, well, you know what? If I am this thing, then fuck it. I gotta try it. Whether I die or not, whatever, we're doing this. So that's it for session 11. For session 12, you need to read pages 710 through 790, which ends the book. All right, we're almost there. You guys are my true Fremen warriors. And now get ready, and now get your questions ready for our live Q&A on Twitch at Sundays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.